Hey everybody, back at it again. Took a little vacation, my birthday weekend, so checking out the shirt there says odometer 40. Well, that's not true. It's actually sure it's a couple years old. Thought maybe I'd use it as a garage shirt or pretend maybe I could turn back the odometer on this old guy to keep on plugging away a little longer, but I know the jokes aren't any better than they have been. They probably won't get any better, so I should probably just stick to what I know, fixing these old cars and dragging you guys along with me. I think what I'm going to do this time around, I'm going to try to get that hole cut in the floor to put the shifter cable back through it, and then get the hole set up there for the center console and the floor shifter. Put those little thread certs in, and while I was gone, the seat base finally showed up for this thing, so I'm working on getting that put in. And say at that point then my floor pan is 100% installed and done, so I don't say it's gonna make some good progress. And I got a few things underneath there to do. The fuel line needs routed back up to the front, so let's get started here and let's check it out. I'll get back from vacation. I got a box full of goodies sitting on the front porch. The seat base came in while I was gone, the carpet, fuel line, a couple of little things that I needed to get this car together. So I'm going to see about getting this put in. This is the passenger side seat base. It's not an AMD stamping. It's a I don't know stamping. It doesn't even have the brand name on it. It was actually that inexpensive. It fits okay. I don't think that it's fantastic, but for a seat base it's going to work fine. It doesn't have any body lines you have to worry about lining up like a door gap or door jamb or the line on top of the edge of the door lining up, so we can make this work. It's not the end of the world, but I probably should have stuck to what I was saying all along. Use AMD panel, spend a few extra bucks and make putting this in a little bit easier. But anyway, I guess I need to take my own words and start using my own advice, I guess you could say. But let's get this put in. Now, laying it in place kind of falls into place for the most part. It doesn't fit awful bad. Okay, it fits awful. Alright, what I've done so far, I kind of started here, got everything lined up, kind of centered it to the bolt hole. Really not that required, but just kind of a place to point of reference. Dropped a few screws in here, started in the middle here in the front, worked my way out, drawn up nice and tight to the panel right underneath it, and did the same thing on the transmission channel. Started at the front, and it's actually pulling up actually pretty good now. So I know it's not AMD, but it's by the time I see here, you put that little push little here, it pulls up nice and tight to the transmission tunnel. So I think it's going to be okay. And then we get here to the rocker panel, same thing, drop some screws this way into it, a couple this way through the floor. Do not hit the fuel line if yours is installed underneath it. And same thing here, hammer this over a little bit, and then here, same thing, hammer that over, make contact. So basically you can have a row of probably about 6 screws through here, kind of every about an inch, inch and a half across the front, around here. Then you drop the screws not in the low spots, only where the actual high spot is. So where the ribs are at, don't put any holes here. It won't actually hit anything when you go to weld it. So, man, maybe 2 per each rib here. 2, 2. And same thing up here. So I'm going to keep screwing this thing together here. And then once we get all the screws in, take them back out, drill them out, and do some plug welding. And a little something else. Now, see, I've dropped the screw in right here, and it's pulled up pretty tight. You still see a bit of a gap. I could drop a screw through that sometimes to get that to pull shut, but sometimes you still have to kind of give a little tap with the old body hammer first, and that'll really kind of draw it up even. And tap it down with a hammer. I've got a little bit of a gap here. I can get my kind of fingertip underneath this. So I'll probably get this screw put in. I'll work one in here and probably hammer it down some. And then once I get that down, it'll kind of pull this down a little bit, drop a couple of screws, and work my way across this panel next. All right, well, there you have it. I have both seat bases completely screwed back into place, test fitted, and I kind of like them. This is the original from 1968. It was still in really, really nice shape. And passenger side was just pretty much garbage. This one ended up fitting pretty good. So I know it's not AMD, and it actually didn't take as much persuasion to get it fit. I even got the 3 screws mounted back in here, all through here. So actually it's ready to go. What I'm going to do now is you'll see 2 screws grouped together. I'm going to go through here now and take pretty much every other screw back out of it and re-drill those holes to 1/4 inch. Then do all my plug welds. And same as the driver's side here. I'll take every other screw out and do my plug welds. The only place I didn't put a bunch of screws is right in this area here, where it actually was originally attached. When I drilled the spot welds out, it still pulled up really tight. So all I'm going to do is just take my drill bit and clean it out a little bit. This one I'm going to have to get persuasive and probably hit it down with a hammer a little bit. The rest of them will be able to fill in and work out just fine. So I'll probably just clean the EDP coating off and do a little plug weld in those holes. And then I've had both my seat bases are in. I think the next step is going to be go ahead and cut this opening out for that shifter. I plan on using the oxy-acetylene torch, kind of like they did from the factory. We'll see what we can do without catching this car on fire, hopefully. I guess step 1, get the torch lit. And always remember where your fire extinguisher is at whenever playing with fire. So I don't need a whole lot of heat to cut this out. Oops. Now, of course, the guys have cut out probably hundreds of these on a daily basis from the factory. Probably do a little better job than I did, but the good news is I didn't catch nothing on fire. And now I've got me a torch cut hole again. It's similar to what they did from the factory. So the next step is climb out of the car. And well, I guess I'll probably let that cool down first, and I'll push and feed back through the automatic shift cable so I can get the shifter mounted to the floor. Alright, I had to, underneath the car, I had to take the, I guess you call it the speedometer cable out of the way to get this to kind of poke back through like I wanted it to. But I think that's going to work real nice. Looks good. Alright, now, I'm going to get these little holes set up, put those little thread certs in next. That's going to probably be the next step. That way I can get this bad boy all hooked back up and back in the car. I guess the question might become, where do you put the shifter at? Now the floor, the hole I punched in the floor with the torch is pretty simple. I used the old floor pan, the original floor pan, and cut it out and used it as a template. Just trace the hole. I'm gonna tell you, it lines up really nice. The shifter cable is to the floor. I kind of eyeballed this, but end result, I could give you measurements, but I don't think I would go off measurements as much as drop this piece in first. It lines up, there's the grooves in the floor. There's the very front lip where it mounts up to the firewall. This here's gonna be the first groove. These holes are perfectly centered in that second groove. Well, this is gonna set the distance of your center console forward and backwards. So use this as a point of reference and then adjust this accordingly. You can get you a 1/4 inch back and forth, make a little bit of side to side, but I went ahead and just eyeballed this, threw a little screw in just real quick for grins and giggles where I popped the holes in the floor. And I'll tell you what, I'll show you what I did. Now is drop the center console on a test fit, because that's part that's going to matter the most. How does the center console look when it's all together? I'll drop it back on and you'll see that it actually lines up pretty good. Now, so this is screwed down now temporarily. These little zippy screws down here. I only put the 2 in it, but I have a center console. I'll fish this thing into place. Clamp the front 2 spots. Now, you don't have a whole lot of wiggle room forward and backwards. I can move this forward some, and that lines up pretty good. Now this opening is centered in the console. Now what becomes is the screw here in the front. How much do I gotta move it around to get it to line up? Now that little hole's kind of a bear to see in. Take a look. Now inside there, see the threaded hole I wiggled it around up and down? Well, that's the threaded hole that the screw goes into. So we'll use that kind of as an alignment pin. That'll set our dips forward and backwards. And if you look at this, I probably couldn't do that again if I tried. If anything, I might be slightly forward an 1/8 inch, but that trim piece will go right over top of that and work out just fine. So I'm gonna go ahead and drop my anchors in. Like I said, I don't necessarily use any kind of a measurement except for setting that front cross piece here and then matching the console and the shifter after that. So I'm ready to mount this thing permanently. Take the screw back out. Now there's 3 points. One here actually holds the boot down. One back here, the one right over here. I probably should have marked that before I took that out. But anyway, this gets my depth. That's the most important part. I can punch a 1/2 inch hole now on the floor there, 1/2 inch hole in the floor here, and I can find that one pretty quick. And then I'll go ahead and drop those thread certs in place. The old directions use a 1/2 inch drill bit, so I'm gonna use this incredibly dull bit probably, but it's all I've got that's actually a 1/2 inch. I think it's gonna work fine, but let's give it a shot here and see what it does. I suppose if you've never seen one of these tools before, it's basically like an oversized rivet gun in a sense. You put the little thread cert on the end here, screw it on, open the handles and squeeze it, and it'll actually kind of then compress this thing and turn it kind of into a pop rivet. So next step is get this mounted up. I'll do the one hole up here. I'll get the other 2 taken care of for the shifter. Then you actually have 2 additional holes for the actual center console mounting also. All right, I guess here goes nothing. Show you what we got here. And once it's all installed, it looks just like the factory insert. Then you can mount your 5/16 bolt right to the floor, and underneath looks the same from the factory, just the same. So I'll get these other 2 holes taken care of here. Then we'll locate the center console and take care of those 2 also. I need to get the shifter put back in. Now this cable comes up through the hole here, and it has a clip like so. Like you see, like on brake lines, it actually slides over that and locks the cable into place. And then the cable end hooks through what's held in here by a pin and a clip. And the wire seems to be on the wrong side. But anyway, I get this pin out here, and the actual cable anchors onto that. So I need to get that mounted into place. there's the pin that holds the cable to the shifter. Alright, first things first, I'm gonna get the cable mounted to the actual shift linkage. Well, I might have left it in park. That wasn't too bad. Put my little clip through here, and we're anchored. Okay. Put the bolts here in the back. You got one that goes in the front up there by the boot, then down inside. The other bolt, just in case you didn't see what I did there, drops down in through here, and actually goes through the shifter, through the boot, and then into the floor pan itself. I got the center console put in, put the screws on each side, so I can definitely say my depth is set right. It actually lines up better once I put it all together here, the console, once tightening it down, so I'm going to call that real nice. Now, let's talk about the center console. It has 2 additional fasteners. Well, as you can tell, this console, being 50 years old, a little brittle, it's broke. I'm just going to go ahead and mount a hole dead center of kind of what's left here. You can see kind of an indention, so I'm going to go for the center of this spot here in case someone ever replaces this console with a good one, or maybe even epoxy a wash or something into this. It has some kind of structure. The rear one here, well, it's also broken, but at least I have a point of reference. I can go ahead and drop a hole through there and install one of those inserts again. So if we do either replace the console, dock the console, whatever it may be, the hardware will be there, so we can say the floor was correctly installed. Yeah, there you go. Both those are installed now. Then these actually have a large Phillips head screw that actually normally goes into the holes, not just a 5/16 hex bolt. But that's all I've got for now. And since this isn't a 100-point restoration, that's going to work. I'll put some bigger washers on, see if I can't snag some of the plastic. But again, if this one there installs the proper console back in it, they have some hardware tied into the floor. So I think the next step is going to be start doing some of this welding. There's one more piece I almost forgot. I'm going to weld this back in from the side brace to the floor pan. I cut that off to get access to the rocker panel and remove the floor pan. So I've got both the left and the right side. It's not much to look at, but that's just a chunk of steel, not much of a shape, but I'll weld those back in just the same so it looks like it was always there. So got those 2 things to do, seat bases to do, and then the floor pan's all in. The only left to do then is just doctor up the fender well where it was kind of rotted out on both sides. And then all my welding on this floor is done. All the screws out, drilled all the plug welds, got everything all done. I didn't drag you along for that journey, but end result, the plug welds on the passenger side came out very nice. Actually, just like spot weld. So that's a technique. If you want some more detail, let me know just the same. But you get that right, it saves a lot of prep work, a lot of time, and get this thing go down the road. Just a little wire brush, a little primer, and paint, and it's ready to go. So let's jump over to the driver's side, show you just the same. After showing you that, someone's asking, I had a few folks ask me what I use for a welder. Well, actually, it's an Eastwood MiG 175. I think I told somebody 180, just kind of pulling that from memory, but I went to replace this thing about a year ago. Had a malfunction with the gas cylinder. You turn it on, and the gas wouldn't turn off. So I contacted Eastwood, and they will help me out with a part for this old vintage turd. I shouldn't call it that. It's actually a really great welder. Has never left me hanging at all besides that little malfunction, like 25 bucks operational gas. So I'm going to keep on using it until it dies, but when it does, I'll probably replace it with the MiG 180. Well, that's going to do it for this time around again. I'm getting kind of tired. It's getting close to 8 o'clock. I'm a little sunburnt. Just got back from vacation, and I'm ready to call it quits. I got all the welding 100% done. Got the center console and shifter remounted, or at least I can install it once I get the carpet back in. I'm kind of down now just to patch up the fender well. So and that'll be it for the metal work. And after that, suspension, water pump, tinker on the engine, test drive this thing, make sure it's going to be good to go, and then off to a new owner. So anyway, I'm gonna shut up again. I'm gonna get out of here. Appreciate you guys following me on this journey. Just about got this one wrapped up. We got a couple more in the works. Of course, anything you'd like to see or I missed or a little more detail on, let me know just the same. But appreciate you following me on this, I guess, progress of the old rusty bird. And then we'll see you next time.